Well, everyone, it's time for us to go and take a look at the iPhone 10 and compare it against the iPhone 8 Plus and see how these particular phones hold up in 2024. Now, these phones came out the exact same day, but they were so different than one another, it's not even funny. So it's always so interesting to take a look at these two devices or types of devices like this that came out at the same time, but are vastly, vastly different devices. Now, number one, if you want to pick up either one of these types of phones, links will be down in the description. You can get them from there and you can help support the channel at the exact same time. Now, starting off with the outside of both these phones, the iPhone 8 Plus, which came out a little bit before the iPhone 10 technically, a phone like this on the front is giving you a 5.5-inch Retina IPS panel. Now with a phone like this, I would say the panel itself is pretty good. I think it's a good looking panel. It's a 1080p display, but it definitely isn't like the nicest screen anymore. And this is definitely a little bit more of an outdated panel when it kind of comes down to it. So you can see that it has big bezels on the top, big bezels on the bottom, and take it as you will, but that could be kind of a big downside or a big caveat of buying a phone like this. Like I'm imagining if you wanted to go and buy a phone, phones like this are great and everything, but you're probably going to be getting a little bit of a different experience with this type of phone compared to a lot of phones nowadays. So keep that in mind. On the iPhone 10 side though, you're getting a 5.8-inch Super Retina OLED display. Now this panel, in my personal opinion, was significantly better. I think this is one of those types of phones that do look very good, and it is kind of the better phone overall than something like the iPhone 8 Plus. But remember, the internals are a little bit different, but the externals, like on the outside, this was the biggest difference inside of these devices. So by getting that newer type of panel inside of the iPhone 10, there were so many years where a phone like the iPhone 10 was looking so much better than the iPhone 8 Plus. Like if you were going to go through and pick up a phone like the iPhone 8 Plus is going to be giving you, a good phone overall, but the iPhone 10 looked so much better, and that is one of the biggest advantages of buying a phone like that. So I'll definitely tell you on the front side, this is the biggest difference, and it really is pretty crazy how good of a phone like the iPhone 10 looks in this day and age, rather than something like the iPhone 8 Plus. Now on top of that, curved sides besides both these phones, which is great. You're getting the lightning port on the bottom of both these phones, which again is amazing. I love having lightning, and being able to just use that type of port over and over and over again is a very, very nice thing to have. On the backside, glass backs on both, dual camera setups on the backside as well. And overall, you're still getting wireless charging on these phones. You're getting IP certification on both these phones as well. And like I said, they look very different, but the main difference was really the look. Internally, they're almost exactly the same type of phone when it kind of comes down to it. Now, on top of that, another very big thing, compared to phones nowadays, you're missing out on a few things. So for one, you're missing out on things like, you're getting wireless charging, but you're not getting a USB Type-C port, which could be kind of interesting for a lot of, phones nowadays. On top of that, you're missing out on, reverse wireless charging, which no iPhone has, but some Androids have it. There's no 90 Hz or 120 Hz display on these phones either, which again can be kind of a downside if you're planning on picking up a phone. Both these phones are going to be kind of missing out on that particular side, which again could be kind of a disadvantage for these types of devices. But beyond that, there's really not too many other things that are, that I'm kind of hating on these types of phones. In terms of the price tag, at release, the iPhone 10 was a more expensive phone than the iPhone 8 Plus, and that was kind of the biggest criticisms of buying a phone like the iPhone 8 Plus or iPhone 10 at that time. But as of this point, I will tell you, both these phones have kind of decreased in value, kind of about the same thing. So although the iPhone 10 is still more expensive, the iPhone 8 Plus really isn't that far off either. But there's a big reason why I probably wouldn't recommend buying either one of these phones. But at that moment, that is one of those things to keep in mind, that a phone like the iPhone 8 Plus is going to be kind of in the situation where that type of device is still going to be a little bit cheaper than the iPhone 10, but the iPhone 10 is probably going to be the better one, probably for a vast majority of people. In terms of the cameras, both, like I said, are giving you dual camera setups on the backside, a wide angle lens and a telephoto lens as well, which again is very nice to have. I love having a telephoto lens and a wide angle lens, which is very, very great. But I will probably tell you also when it kind of comes down to these things, both these phones are very good. I like both these phones a lot. You're getting 4K 60 on the front, 1080p on the front camera, but you're really not going to be getting anything on this camera that's insanely amazing or that, holds up super well against phones nowadays. The only thing I can probably tell you is that both are giving you dual cameras, which are nice. You're getting 4K 60 on the back and 1080p on the front. You're getting portrait mode and some other things like that, which is really nice. But if you're trying to go and look at these types of phones, and if you're trying to see which one is the better one here, clearly in almost every single way, a phone like the iPhone 10 and the 8 Plus are basically the same type of camera. However, compared to iPhones nowadays, this is also a slight difference. Between both, you're going to be getting phones and cameras that are going to be very good on both, which is very nice. Or they were good at the time, they were the same. But you're missing out on things like cinematic mode. Both these phones don't have it. No 4K 60 on the front. No, not even 1080p at 60 on the front either. So from that thing, both these phones are going to be kind of missing out on, from that particular side. So again, it's not like the best type of camera, it's not the best type of experience of all time on either one. But I would tell you, like, if you're going to go and pick up one device, probably the iPhone 10 is going to feel a little bit nicer because the screen is nicer. But even then, it's not the biggest deal in the world either here. So from that side, that kind of covers it up there as well. Now, on top of that, when it comes down to the software, this is one of those things that's kind of interesting between both because, as you could probably tell, both these phones have the same chipset, same exact everything across the board. So from that side, you're probably going to be getting an overall better experience inside of something like the iPhone, 10, you would imagine, because it's more expensive, but that's not the case here. The iPhone 8 Plus is probably going to be the better one here, which again is the better one in my personal opinion. That's the one I'd probably recommend, people to buy. But the thing here is that for the most part, the iPhone, 10 and 8 Plus, same chipset, same exact RAM, same everything. So the software lasts the same. But this is the biggest problem with these phones is because they stopped getting software support at iOS 16. So if you were to go through and pick up a phone, that type of phone on iOS 16 is probably not going to be the one that's going to last like the longest amount of time. So I do think this in and of itself is kind of a problem if you're going to get either one of these phones because you're not going to be getting phones that last like super, super long in terms of software. So kind of keep that in mind as well. Again, it's not the biggest deal in the world, but that was just one thing that I kind of noticed at that particular moment. So once again, kind of keep that in mind. Again, it's not a deal breaker or anything, but that was one of those things that I noticed at that particular moment. In terms of performance, you're getting the Apple A11 Bionic chip inside of both of these phones with 3 gigabytes of RAM. So once again, this kind of thing is another really big thing going on here as well. And I do feel like if you're going to go and pick up a phone, like, the iPhone 10, like I said before, is the better one, but definitely when it comes down to the performance, they're exactly the same. But I will tell you, one interesting thing with both these phones is that because of the iPhone 10's gesture-based design, you're probably going to be getting a phone that's going to be giving you an overall better experience inside of that device than the iPhone 8 Plus just because of that gesture-based design. Like, it really is that big of a difference. And I do feel like just going through and rather than clicking the button over and over again like the home button, you can just swipe up and change some things like that. This is a very cool thing that's going on here. And I personally do think that in and of itself is another very big asset for this type of phone as well. So from that side, that's another very big kind of thing going on here as well. So from the performance side, again, not the biggest difference, but there's just the gesture-based design change, and in my opinion, is a very big thing here that I actually liked a lot. So to kind of sum it up, what I'll definitely tell you, I like both of these phones, right? I thought they were both very entertaining. They were both very, very good phones when they came down to it. But I will probably tell you the iPhone 10 is the better one here. But here's the thing, between both these devices, the problem with both these phones is that you're not really getting any software support. So that's kind of the problem, and I would hate for you to go and buy a phone if it's already going to be outdated with software. And that's essentially what's kind of going on here with, both these devices. I would hate for you to go and pick a phone, get a phone if it's already outdated with software. And that's kind of what's going on when you're getting these two devices. So that kind of covers it up there for the most part. If you have any other thoughts or questions, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.